He told his dad's pregnant girlfriend the truth and watched her whole world fall apart in seconds. His dad's girlfriend was crying, locked in a bedroom. And the 17-year-old standing on the other side of that door felt absolutely nothing. Not guilt. Not regret. Just the quiet, settled certainty that he had told the truth, and the truth was never his problem to manage. She had wanted a big brother moment. She got a reality check instead. So our guy grew up with his mom. His dad was never really in the picture, not in any meaningful way. The court had ordered 1 visit per month, and his dad showed up for every single one of them, which sounds dedicated until you realize that 1 day a month is the bare minimum a judge would accept before revoking visitation entirely. It is not devotion. It is compliance. And there is a massive difference between a father who shows up because he loves his child and a father who shows up because a court order told him he had to. Think about what those monthly visits must have actually felt like. A car pulling up. A man who was technically your father but felt more like a distant acquaintance you were legally obligated to spend time with. Afternoons that probably moved too slowly, conversation that probably ran dry too fast, and a low hum of awkwardness that nobody ever fully addressed. Our narrator grew up understanding the difference between presence and devotion, even if he never had the exact words for it. You learn that difference not from a conversation but from a feeling. From the way someone looks at their watch. From the way a hug at the end of the day feels more like a formality than an emotion. His mom had tried to end those visits. She took it back to court and argued that the arrangement was not serving her son, and she was probably right. But the judge looked at the attendance record, saw that dad had never technically missed a day, and ruled that the visits should continue until the boy turned 18. That birthday is coming in October. He has been counting down. Not with excitement. With the quiet, exhausted relief of someone who has been waiting a very long time for a door to finally open so they can walk out of it and never look back. Now here is where the story gets layered, because this is not just a story about one absent father and one son who checked out emotionally. There are more kids in this picture. 3 more, to be exact. 3 other children that this man fathered with 3 other women, children who are now being raised by the men their mothers eventually married, children for whom this man pays 0 child support because those men legally stepped into the role he abandoned. And he owes our narrator's mom a significant amount of money that she has not even told her son about yet, choosing to wait until he is 18 to have that conversation. Think about what that says about this man. Not one family fractured by circumstance. Not one relationship that simply did not work out. A pattern. A documented, repeated, demonstrable pattern of producing children and then receding into the background, doing just enough to stay technically present while leaving the actual weight of parenting for someone else to carry. Our narrator knew about the other kids. His mom was actually offered the chance for him to meet them, to form some kind of sibling bond, to build a relationship across all these fractured family lines. He was not interested. He did not say that with cruelty or contempt. He just genuinely did not feel any pull toward it, the way you might genuinely not feel pulled toward a stranger who happens to share your last name. A biological connection does not come with a pre-installed emotional response. Love is not automatic. Caring is not automatic. And a teenager who has spent his whole life learning that the hardest way possible should not be expected to manufacture warmth toward children he has never met simply because they share a father he barely knows. His mom respected his answer and declined on his behalf, and that was the end of it. She did not push. She did not guilt him. She just listened to her son and honored what he said. Then his dad got a new girlfriend. And she got pregnant. And she had, apparently, only been told about one child. Just him. Just the 17-year-old who comes over once a month and keeps mostly to himself. She did not know about the others. She walked into this relationship with an incomplete picture, and in that incomplete picture, she had constructed a whole fantasy about what this baby's arrival would mean for everyone involved. She had probably imagined family dinners. She had probably imagined a teenage boy who was a little awkward but secretly thrilled. She had probably told her own friends about the sweet stepson who was finally going to have a sibling. She had built something in her mind, something warm and full of possibility, and none of it was based on accurate information. She started inviting him to things. Baby shopping trips. A special ultrasound scan. She wanted him engaged, excited, glowing about the idea of becoming a big brother. She would suggest these outings with a kind of cheerful expectation, the way someone does when they genuinely cannot imagine the answer being no. And every single time he said no, she was genuinely baffled. Not annoyed in the way people get when they feel dismissed. Not immediately suspicious in the way someone might be if they sensed something was off. Actually baffled, like she truly could not compute why a teenage boy would not want to celebrate a pregnancy he had no emotional investment in. She kept circling back. She kept trying different angles. She was operating from a completely false set of assumptions, and nobody had corrected them. Oh, she had no idea. She really had absolutely no idea. It kept building. Each visit, she would try again with a new invitation or a new angle. Each visit, he would decline again with the same quiet, steady calm. And then came the moment she finally asked him directly. She sat him down with the kind of energy that said she had been rehearsing this conversation, like she had decided this time she was going to get through to him. She wanted to know why he was not excited, why he was not gearing up to be a big brother, why he seemed so unmoved by something she found so beautiful and meaningful. She said she had assumed he would be happy to finally have a sibling after all this time. And that word, finally, that assumption baked into it, the idea that he had been sitting around his whole life with a sibling-shaped hole in his heart just waiting to be filled, that is what finally made him decide to stop declining and just tell her the truth. Because she was not asking out of malice. She genuinely believed her own version of the story. And the version she believed was wrong. He told her this was not the first time his dad had a child with someone else. He told her clearly, without theatrics, without anger, just the plain facts laid out in a row. He told her there were 3 other kids out there, kids he had never met and had no relationship with. He watched her face as he said it. He told her that whatever happened with her baby, the outcome would likely be the same. He considers himself an only child. That is not changing because his father has a pattern of getting women pregnant and then doing the bare minimum required by law or social expectation to stay technically present while being emotionally absent in every way that actually matters. She did not want to believe him. She pushed back with the energy of someone whose entire plan for the future was quietly coming apart at the seams. She said that could not be right. And he did not back down. He did not raise his voice or get defensive. He explained it calmly and thoroughly, giving her enough detail that she had no real path left to disbelief. And then came the part that revealed everything about where she was emotionally. Instead of sitting with the information and turning her energy toward the man who had hidden it from her, she turned it toward the teenager sitting across from her and asked him why he cared so little. Why he would not even try. Why he would not take the chance to build lifelong bonds with siblings he had never connected with. She said it was so sad. Her voice cracked. The tears came. He told her she picked the wrong guy to have that conversation with. She went straight to the bedroom and locked the door. The sound of that lock clicking into place was probably the loudest thing in the apartment. The rest of his visit passed in silence, the kind of silence that has weight to it, the kind that fills a room and makes the walls feel closer than they are. Before he left, his dad pulled him aside with the stiff, uncomfortable posture of a man who knew he was the one who should be apologizing but was choosing to redirect that discomfort instead. He told his son he needed to apologize to her. His son looked at him and said no. Not with anger. Not with satisfaction. Just no, flat and final, because he had nothing to apologize for. He told the truth. The truth hurt because the person who caused the situation had spent years carefully hiding it, and that is not a problem that a 17-year-old boy created or had any obligation to fix. A few days later, the girlfriend texted his mom. She wanted a formal apology and she wanted to hear that he was going to make a real effort to be a good big brother to her child. His mom read the message, understood exactly what it was, set her phone down, and moved on without responding. She did not need to deliberate. She did not draft a reply and delete it. She just saw it clearly for what it was and chose not to engage. But he knows that when he walks back into that house for his next visit, this is not going to be over. That door is still there. That silence is still waiting. Here is the thing that gets me about this whole situation. This girlfriend is not the villain of the story. She is genuinely a person who got blindsided by a man who did not give her the full picture before she made a life-altering decision. Her grief in that bedroom was real. Her tears were real. The feeling of wanting something better for her child, of having constructed a hopeful vision of a blended family and then watching it dissolve, is one of the most human feelings imaginable. You cannot fully blame someone for grieving the version of the future they thought they were walking into. But the person she needed to be angry at was not the teenager sitting across from her with his hands in his lap telling her the truth. It was the man down the hall who had known about 3 other children this entire time and said nothing. What this kid did took a kind of emotional clarity that most adults spend decades trying to develop. He did not perform excitement he did not feel. He did not make promises he had no intention of keeping just to get through the afternoon without conflict. He did not pretend that a biological connection automatically creates a relationship, because it does not. Relationships are not assigned. They are built, slowly, through time and presence and consistent, unglamorous effort. His father has never given him any of those things in any meaningful way. Why on earth would he hand them over to a baby he has never met, on behalf of a man who has given him almost nothing? And the apology request, that is the part that genuinely baffles me. What exactly is he apologizing for? For telling the truth when someone directly asked him why he was behaving the way he was behaving? For declining to go baby shopping? For having accurate and completely reasonable emotional boundaries around a family situation he never asked to be part of? The girlfriend is in pain, and that pain is understandable and real, but pain does not entitle you to an apology from someone who did not cause it. His dad caused it. His dad is the one who should be sitting in front of that girlfriend explaining himself, not sending a 17-year-old boy out into the living room to smooth things over before the kid can even legally vote. He does not owe that baby anything. He does not owe that girlfriend anything. And in October, when he turns 18, he will not owe his father another single Sunday a month either. He held his line with dignity. He told the truth without cruelty. And he refused to apologize for it. That is not something a kid should have to be this good at. The fact that he is this good at it says everything about the childhood that made him this way. She enforced the rules and a micro-influencer tried to destroy her life over $1.50. She charged a woman $6.75 for a coffee. And for that, she almost lost her job, her reputation, and her peace of mind, all because someone with 15,000 Instagram followers decided that $1.50 in free oat milk was worth going to war over. This is a special kind of story. So our barista is 22, working at a small local coffee shop, and there is a regular named Megan. Megan comes in almost every single day, orders a complicated latte, and then after she pays she starts making requests. Extra syrup. Oat milk. Whipped cream. All free. Her justification is that she posts about the shop on her Instagram stories, and with 15,000 followers she seems to believe that makes her a valuable marketing partner. She walks in with that particular energy that some people carry, the energy of someone who has decided in advance that they are doing the room a favor simply by being in it. She places her order with the confidence of someone who expects the transaction to go exactly the way she has decided it will go. There is just one problem with that logic, which is that her boss had never agreed to any formal deal. There was no contract. There was no arrangement. There was no conversation where the owner sat down with Megan and said, "Yes, your posts are worth complimentary oat milk upgrades indefinitely. Megan had simply started getting freebies and kept asking for them, and nobody had ever formally told her to stop, so she decided in the particular way that entitled people do, that silence was the same as agreement, and agreement was the same as a standing policy, and a standing policy was something she could cite and defend and eventually weaponize. Our narrator had let it slide a few times. On slow days, when things were quiet and the shop felt almost peaceful and it seemed easier to just say yes than to open a whole conversation about value and compensation and what 15,000 followers actually translates to in real revenue, she had quietly upgraded Megan's order and moved on. She had swallowed the mild discomfort of it and told herself it was not worth the energy. A lot of people in service jobs make that calculation every single day. You absorb small things because the alternative is a scene, and scenes have a cost that falls entirely on you. But last Saturday was not a slow day. Last Saturday was the kind of shift that baristas have nightmares about, the kind that starts badly and compounds itself with every passing hour. The line was out the door and moving slowly. 2 people had called out sick, which meant the cushion of having a second or third pair of hands was completely gone. She was running the bar solo, which means she was taking orders, making drinks, managing the register, watching the milk froth, keeping track of what was in the queue, and trying to maintain enough speed that the people at the back of the line did not visibly lose hope. Her whole body was in task mode. Her brain was in triage mode. This was not the moment for a negotiation about complimentary syrups. Megan walked in, placed her order, and when the total came up she said what she always says, the phrase she had probably said so many times it felt to her like a perfectly normal thing to say. Just add the oat milk and vanilla for free like usual. And our narrator, doing her actual job in the middle of one of the hardest shifts she had worked in recent memory, told her she could not today. She was honest about why. Her manager was watching the cameras, she had already been warned about giving out freebies, and today of all days was not the time. She said it plainly. She did not lean in and whisper it like an apology. She did not stumble over the words. She just said it because it was true and because she had a right to say it. That is a completely reasonable thing to say in a completely reasonable tone. She was not rude. She did not lecture Megan about the economics of small businesses or the limits of influencer marketing. She simply explained the situation and rang up the order correctly. Megan said fine. She would take her business elsewhere. And then she picked up her phone. Oh no. Oh, absolutely not. She photographed our narrator mid-reach for a cup. Just grabbed her phone and snapped a picture without any warning, without asking, without giving her any opportunity to respond or compose herself or even understand what was happening. Our narrator probably did not even fully register it in the moment. She was moving fast, thinking about the 6 people behind Megan in line, thinking about the drink she had half built on the counter. And then Megan went straight to her Instagram story and posted it. She wrote that the shop had the worst service and that the barista, named by her full name for 15,000 people to see, had been so rude for absolutely no reason and that people should not go there. She did not mention that she had been declined a free upgrade. She did not say that a policy had been explained to her. She did not include any of the context that would have allowed her followers to form an actual opinion. She just posted a photograph of a woman doing her job and told a crowd of strangers that woman was a problem, and then she put her phone down and went about her day, probably feeling entirely justified. Within a few hours, 3 one-star Yelp reviews had gone up, all specifically naming our narrator. 2 people actually walked into the physical shop demanding discounts because they had seen the story and believed they were owed something as a result. Think about that for a moment. Real human beings got up, traveled to a coffee shop they had presumably never been to, and walked through the door with complaints based entirely on the account of someone who was upset about paying full price for oat milk. The story had spread enough in a single afternoon to move bodies through space. That is how much damage one person with a platform and no accountability can do before the other side of the story has any chance to exist. Here is where the story could have gone very badly. But the manager reviewed the security footage. Watched the whole interaction from the beginning. Saw exactly what happened, saw that our narrator had been professional and correct and patient on a day when patience was genuinely hard to come by, and told her she had done nothing wrong. That should have been the end of it. Except now some of her coworkers are pulling her aside and telling her she should have just given Megan the $50 upgrade to avoid the drama. And the owner is staying out of the whole thing entirely, which is its own kind of message even when nothing is said out loud. And Megan is still commenting on the shop's Instagram posts, writing things like, "Remember when your staff harassed me," as if that version of events is real and documented and not just something she invented because she did not want to pay for oat milk. Let me be very clear about something. Giving Megan the free upgrade would not have solved anything. It would have confirmed to Megan that throwing a public tantrum online is an effective strategy for getting what she wants. It would have told every other customer watching that the way to get free items at this shop is to threaten the staff with bad press. It would have rewarded behavior that was manipulative, dishonest, and professionally damaging to a 22-year-old woman who was just doing her job on an already terrible shift. The $50 was never the point. The power was the point. Megan is not a marketing partner. She is a customer who decided her social media following entitled her to special treatment that was never formally agreed upon, and when that treatment was politely declined on one difficult morning, she responded by attempting to publicly destroy the reputation of an employee who had no way to defend herself in real time. That is not the behavior of someone who had a bad customer service experience. That is the behavior of someone who believes their follower count makes them untouchable. The coworkers who told her to just let it go are not wrong that avoiding drama can sometimes be a smart workplace strategy. But there is a version of letting it go that protects you and a version that simply trains people to keep coming back for more. Our narrator was already warned about giving out freebies. If she had given Megan the upgrade that day and her manager had seen it on camera, she could have been written up or even let go. She was protecting herself and following the rules she had been given, and the fact that Megan decided to weaponize her platform in response to that does not mean our narrator was in the wrong. It means Megan was in the wrong, loudly and publicly and with photographs. The 3 one-star reviews that named her specifically are also worth talking about. Those were not left by people who had a bad experience at the shop. Those were left by people who read an Instagram story and decided to act on it without any first-hand knowledge of what happened. They did not taste bad coffee. They did not receive poor service. They read one person's curated and dishonest framing of a brief interaction and felt moved enough by it to go find a stranger on the internet and leave a permanent negative mark next to her name. One afternoon. One post. 3 reviews and 2 people through the door. That is the ecosystem that micro-influencer culture has built, where the speed of outrage moves faster than the speed of truth, and it is genuinely disturbing when you look at it directly. Our narrator did everything right. She followed policy. She was transparent about her reasoning. She did not argue or escalate. She rang up the order correctly and moved on. The fact that the outcome included bad reviews and coworker second-guessing and an owner who is staying quiet does not change the correctness of her actions. It just reveals how exhausting it is to do the right thing when the wrong thing would have been so much easier in the short term. She does not owe Megan an apology. She does not owe her coworkers an explanation. And she definitely does not owe anyone in Megan's audience a discount based on a story that left out the part where Megan was just trying to get free stuff. The manager saw the footage and backed her up, and that backing should mean something. The owner staying quiet is frustrating, but it is not the same as being told she was wrong. What I want her to take away from this is simple. She held her ground in a moment of real pressure. She did not crumble when Megan made the threat of taking her business elsewhere. She did not panic when the story went up. She told her manager what happened, the manager checked, and the truth held. The system, imperfect as it is, actually worked in this case. That matters. Not every story gets a manager who looks at the footage and laughs and says you did nothing wrong. She got one. That is worth something. Megan can keep commenting on the shop's Instagram for as long as she wants. But every person who sees those comments and then looks at the rest of the shop's presence, at real reviews, at the actual menu, at the experience of customers who were not trying to score free upgrades, will form their own opinion. The 15,000 followers do not all think in lockstep. And the 1 or 2 regulars the shop lost over this were probably already the kind of people who would have found another reason eventually. Our narrator charged someone full price for a coffee. That is the whole story. She was right. Full stop. Drop a comment below and tell me which story hit harder for you today. And if you want more of this, a like and a subscribe would mean a lot.